Hi everyone, I'm Mark Harrison and this is A History of Rome. In today's special episode, we're going to take a look at religion in the time of the early Republic. Religion was central to the Roman state and there was no separation between the two. It was the bedrock upon which every member of Roman society conducted their lives, be that in public or in private. Without religion, it is safe to say that there would have been no Rome as we know it. Rome's whole history was based on guidance from the divine, Aeneas being the son of Venus, the interventions of Jupiter and Juno, Mars' impregnation of Rhea Silvia, and Romulus' deification of Quirinus tied the fate of the city to the gods. From then on, their will was invariably linked to the destiny of the city itself. Official state religious practices were governed and run by colleges. Initially there were three of them, the College of Pontiffs, the College of Augurs and the Quindecimviri Sacris Facundis, which translates as the 15 men who carry out the rites. The most prominent of these was the College of Pontiffs, the main members of which were the Flamens, the priests, the Pontifex Maximus, the chief priest, and the Rex Sacrorum, the king of the sacred, and of course the Vestal Virgins. The most powerful of these was undoubtedly the Pontifex Maximus. As the highest religious office of the state, he controlled and directed all practices and ceremonies, and held a measure of control over the other offices. His duties included the consecration of temples and regulating the law on births, deaths, marriages and adoptions. He also had the added responsibility of ensuring good public morals. But what really gave the position some bite was the fact that there was no bar to holding political or military office simultaneously with the chief priesthood. Of the other priesthoods, there were 15. The Flamenes Maiores, the major priests, numbered 3, and they served the interest of Jupiter, Mars and Quirinus, the original Capitoline Triad. This office was open only to patricians. The 12 Flamenes Minores, minor priests, could be either patrician or plebeian, and they served minor gods. As well as their duties to their deity, they also looked after any ritual sacrificing that was to be performed as a result of death, and they also had the right to confer a pardon upon any convicted criminal. But with these rights and duties, there also came a few restrictions. There were dietary prohibitions that included raw meat, yeast and beans among other things. And it was not only the eating and touching of these products, they were even forbidden to see or to talk about them. Restrictions were also imposed on marriage. The wife of a Flamen, a Flaminica, was to work together with her husband and he with her, as the office was a joint responsibility between man and woman. The marriage had to be conducted in a specific way and the wife, of course, had to be a virgin. Once married, the pair were forbidden to separate or to divorce, and should the wife die, then the man will be required to step down. The Rex Sacrorum held a peculiar position within the Roman state. It was regarded as the office with the highest prestige, but it lacked any real power, as the holder, unlike the Pontifex Maximus, was forbidden to take up either a political or a military post, and thus, despite it being an office of high honour, the lack of teeth meant that it was not one often sought out, and it was regularly left vacant. The Rex Sacrorum was the high priest of the god Janus, and as such was responsible for holding a sacrifice each month on the calends. His wife, the Regina Sacrorum, oversaw similar sacrifices on the same day to the goddess Juno. But of all the members of the college, probably the most revered were the Vestal Virgins, of whom there were 6. Selected in childhood, a Vestal would serve for 30 years, 10 as a student, 10 as a servant and 10 as a teacher. For this term of office, they had to take a vow of chastity, and the punishment for breaking this vow was death. Their primary duty was the keeping alive of the fire of Vesta, upon which the safety of Rome depended. They also participated in all sacrifices for which they made the mola salsa, a flour and salt mixture that was sprinkled upon the head of the animal to be sacrificed. The person of the Vestal was sacrosanct, Violating them carried the death penalty. They were also regarded as being of impeccable character, and as such their word could never be questioned. Vestals were often trusted with important state papers and private wills. Their status meant that they were always accorded a place of honour, and when moving through the streets of Rome, they did so in a litter, with a bodyguard, and always had the right of way. Significantly, they were the only women in Roman society that were free of the jurisdiction of their father. They were accountable only to the Pontifex Maximus. Upon completion of service, they were free to marry. The prestige that they carried, and no doubt the very generous pension that they were awarded, made them a highly prized wife. The College of Augurs consisted of individuals whose primary duty was to interpret the will of the gods. This was often achieved through observations that were made before a sacrifice was conducted, during that sacrifice, or on the events after the sacrifice had been completed. If the god's will was considered unfavourable, the presiding augur could accept the unfavourable result and have the whole ceremony nullified, or, if he thought that the sacrifice had not been properly conducted, he could have the whole procedure restarted. After sacrifice, the augurs could read the entrails of the dead animal to further understand the god's will. The liver was often used in these cases. Other rituals performed by them included the interpretation of omens and portents, such as the flights of birds, as well as prodigies, which were supernatural events, and these rituals were often conducted for political purposes. The College of the 15 Men had the specific task of guarding the Sibylline books and of overseeing the worship of foreign gods introduced into Rome. Now, away from the pomp and ceremony of state religious occasions, Roman citizens honoured their own household gods, often having a small shrine to which they would make their offerings. Should a ceremony be required, then the man of the family, the paterfamilias, would undertake the role of the chief priest, and the family members would act as his assistants. Religion in Rome was part of daily life, but it was not all-encompassing. They did not worship solely for the glory of a god, as many religious people of today do. They saw their dealings with the divine as a quid pro quo, a giving of something in order to get something back. And for that, the correct ritual had to be observed, and it had to be conducted in the exact prescribed manner. Failure would displease the god, and there would be no beneficial result. Religion was a major part of a system that laid the foundations of the city of Rome, as well as being integral to the building of its empire. It was the basis upon which families conducted their lives and institutions were run. To a Roman of this era, honouring the gods was a reason for success, and failure to do so, or to do so incorrectly, could mean disaster. Without the gods, there was no Rome. We hope that you enjoyed this special on religion in the early Republic, and that you'll join us again for our next regular episode. And if you like our work, please help by subscribing, pressing the bell button and commenting. And we'll see you next time on A History of Rome.